Hi Eddie, it feels like forever since I saw you in person. How are you?
Very well, mate. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good indeed. Looking very well yourself. Just wanted to ask you first of all, um, where are you with the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk talks at the moment?
I mean, there's not much to talk about other than where it's going to take place and when. So, there was a lot of conversations, as you know, around step aside and, this idea and that idea. And we've we got to the point where time had run thin and probably AJ's patience had run thin and talking about something he didn't really want to do anyway. And now we move forward with the planning for that rematch. I expect the fight to take place in April. My preference is for that fight to take place back in the UK at Spurs or at Wembley. And we'll make sure that Team Usyk are happy with that. I feel that Team Usyk, who are good, genuine people, know they have a responsibility to rematch AJ. They're happy to do so. They believe they're big favourites in the rematch as well. They think they can actually do a better job by the sounds of some of their interviews. So do we, and so does AJ. Think he can do a better job. So our plan really is probably by the end of this month to have that date locked in stone. And I expect AJ to probably start camp end of January, early Feb.
So presumably that's mid to late April if it's outdoors because of the weather. And what's the purse split on the second fight? Is that agreed?
It is agreed, thank you.
But you're not talking about it at the moment.
It's pretty. It's I don't want to talk about the confidential contract, but it's pretty standard around what you would expect for that fight. And it's a lot of people talk about rematch clauses. Right now, Alexander Usyk is very happy with the rematch clause that he signed to fight Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? So it's not just about sometimes thinking about your own fighter and protecting his best interest, but sometimes as Team Usyk were more than happy to do, they wanted to sign a rematch clause on those kind of terms because obviously he's going to make a lot of money for that fight. And there's always the old adage, isn't there? Beat him once, beat him twice. And that's how they feel. They feel very confident about this fight.
And so AJ, we assume, is going to take a new training team to take him into this fight?
Yeah, I think you saw his interview yesterday where he talked about the addition of new trainer or trainers in this camp. There's been a lot to think about. And, I think with AJ, certainly what you see on social media doesn't represent what's actually going on behind the scenes in terms of the hard work. He's been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of preparation, and making a lot of decisions about how that training team should look, where it should be, a lot of stuff, because you've got to get this right. And it's always a risk going into a fight with a new team, but it's more of a risk going into a fight when you don't believe in yourself or you don't believe in your preparation. So I'm comfortable with where he's at. Again, with camp almost imminent, you will see those changes, and I guess he'll make an official announcement about his setup when that begins. But there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make sure that he gets it right in what will be an absolute must-win fight.
And therefore, bringing into play the Dillian Whyte-Tyson Fury negotiation at the moment, step aside has gone for Joshua, or could it still be there if White and Fury doesn't play out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Dillian Whyte order in the WBC kind of slowed down those step aside talks, and I can't tell you that was going to happen, but it was a conversation I was willing to have on behalf of Anthony, not that one he was willing to have at that point. But certainly Dillian Whyte's inclusion in that mix does make that whole procedure much more difficult, and we'll see how that plays out. I mean, to think about a step aside for AJ and Dillian and all the contractual necessities that would have to fall in place for both of those guys to be comfortable with that position is very difficult, and it's also very costly in terms of time. And I think the one thing that nobody has right now is time. Fury's talking about fighting in March. Well, we're nearly at the end. Give it a week or so, we'll be looking at the end of January. So, and we know how long these things take to put to bed. So I think that you get to a point where everyone sort of says, look, the step aside, system looks nice, but maybe we should just get on with what we need to get on with it. And for Anthony, in his mind, getting on with it is getting back in there with Alexander Usyk.
Monday purse bids are due for White and Fury. Presumably that just goes ahead on Monday in spite of all this arbitration that's going on in the background.
Well, I think, that's one for the WBC that I'm not sure whether that purse bid goes ahead on Monday, because there will be a procedure where Dillian Whyte will appeal, either via the WBC or via the arbitration or via the courts regarding that split. So do you wait until that appeal takes place before the purse bid go ahead? Because it all becomes very messy at that point. Whenever the purse bid goes ahead, we will be bidding, and we will be bidding very aggressively for that fight. But I don't think you're going to see Dillian Whyte pulling out of a fight because he's not happy with a split. He just wants to make sure that his case is heard with regards to that, and that a decision is made fairly regarding that process before it's finalised. And ultimately, it was a decision made by the WBC, but there's a lot going on in terms of the arbitration and in the courts regarding Dillian Whyte's situation with the WBC.
What do you think? Do you think it should be a 60-40 split or a 75-25 split?
Well, the maximum split for an interim champion is 55-45.
Yeah.
So that's extremely aggressive, because you have to look at the situation. Tyson Fury is a huge name, making a lot of money. But Dillian Whyte is also a big name. He's making a lot of money. He's filled the O2 on several occasions. He's boxed on pay-per-view on several occasions. It's it's the biggest fight in the division outside of Usyk and AJ for Tyson Fury. So we can't just disrespect Dillian Whyte as a standard challenger when he's waited so long for this opportunity, when his commercial value in this fight is so big. So I think 80-20 is ridiculously unfair. Can I honestly canvass 55-45 to you? No. But, it's significantly more than 80-20. And it makes a big difference, Gareth, when you're talking about the money in the pot for this fight. 10 or 15% is a lot of money. And we just have to respect the value of Dillian Whyte, and also the amount of time that he's had to wait for this opportunity. That should be reflected as well.
March the 26th is when Bob Arum and Frank Warren have said that Tyson Fury, they think, will fight again or next. They think it'll be in the UK. That's where he's headed. Is there a prospect of that being Whyte and Fury on the March 26th, or is that just not enough time?
You've got to win the purse bid first. If we win the purse bid, we'll do the fight when we want to do the fight, and where we want to do the fight. But March 26th is achievable in terms of preparation for the fighters, but it's also that we don't know how it's going to ensue. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see over the next week or so what happens.
So, Eddie, you've got an incredible schedule coming up with a range of fights all over the world. Spell it out for us.
Well, firstly, it's a real mix between the US and the UK. Of course, February the 5th, massive opportunity for Liam Smith fighting Jesse Vargas, former two-weight world champion in Phoenix, and that's Quadras against Rungasai for the world title as a co-main event there. The week after, we're finally bringing the Miracle Man, Daniel Jacobs, over to the UK to fight John Ryder in a massive fight back at Alexandra Palace. We've just finished up the darts there. Great venue. I don't think I've been to Ali Pali for boxing since Audley Harrison against Michael Sprott. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
A long time ago. And brilliant to be back there. February the 27th, a Sunday night, you've got Lawrence Okoli defending his world title against Sislak, who's top 6 or 7 in the world. Very, very good fighter. And then March 5th, the trilogy between Estrada and Chocolatito in San Diego, going to be a wild event down there. March the 12th, one of my favourites is Michael Conlan challenging Lee Wood for the world featherweight title. That's going to be at Nottingham Arena. And then 2 weeks after, Josh Warrington gets his chance to become a 2-time world champion against the upsetter Kiko Martinez, who had a war with him last time in Leeds as well. And then we move into April. We're just finalising Taylor Serrano. Looks like April 30th at MSG if we can get that over the line. And then, of course, all the heavyweight fights that we talked about as well to get planning. Conor Benn, Also expected in April, Callum Smith expected in April as well. So big start to the year, and looking forward to a lively 2022.
Do you believe that if one of Amir Khan or Kell Brook win decisively in their fight in February, that they may call out Conor Benn for a big fight here?
I think it depends how they look. You know, I think both guys have got it in their mind that this is their last fight, but definitely Amir has. Do you know what I mean? You know, when I'm looking at the training and I'm watching a couple of the interviews that I've seen, Kell looks like he's actually got the bit between his teeth, and Amir looks like if it doesn't happen, he's not really that fussed. Which, you know, when you've got two guys that are at the end of the road and one's got more desire than the other, it's quite a big advantage. I think if Kell looked good in winning, and I think he's the favourite because of what I've seen, I think he would probably carry on fighting. But I think Amir, I think if either guy didn't look great, which there is a chance they might not because they're not once what they once were, I think that would be the end for them. But Conor would certainly be willing. You know, that fight's in February. I guess the winner of that fight wouldn't fight again till end of the summer or September. So Conor needs to fight in April. We love the Robert Guerrero fight. We love the Adrian Broner fight. I like the Maurice Hooker fight. I mean, you know, we're getting to that stage now where he's on the verge of actually saying, I'm ready for a world title shot. Still a fight or two to go for me. And still now you have to step up the levels every time to keep passing the test. But what he's doing is he's passing the test with flying colours every time. And he's exciting and he's hitting numbers. And, you know, he's a star.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I've got him down as my genuine big breakthrough star in 2022. 2021, got to say, in all the years I've covered boxing, ended up being one of the great years in boxing in spite of COVID. When you look back on the year and you audited it, it was unbelievable. In 2022, huge as your empire is now growing, what's the fight you'd most like to see happen in 2022?
I think it's always going to be difficult to not want to see AJ against Fury, to be honest with you. Like world titles, undisputed titles, whatever, you know, that's one that I will always love to see. I really want to see George Kambosos against Devin Haney for the undisputed lightweight world championship. You know, I want to see Dillian Whyte get his shot at the world heavyweight title. You know, I want to see Derek Chisora go in and fight Luis Ortiz or Chris Arreola. You know, I know I talked
about Deontay Wilder, I heard.
Yeah, look, what I said in that interview was that I believe that Chisora, if he gets past 3 or 4 rounds, can actually beat Deontay Wilder. And everyone's saying, "Oh, you're trying to put." Look, he would accept the fight with Wilder, and it's a good fight for Wilder. But I would like to see, you know, a Adam Kanaki fight or a Chris Arreola fight. You know, one that's a real 50-50 for Chisora that you know is going to be fireworks. I would like to see Conor Benn fight Adrian Broner. You know, of course, something personal to me. I want to see Katie Taylor fight Amanda Serrano, which we look like we're on the verge of getting now. There's so many fights. And I truly believe we'll get a better 2022 than 2021, which will be difficult because it was a fantastic year.
Fantastic stuff, Eddie. And I completely agree. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you for joining me.
No problem. Thanks, Gareth.